Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today's video will be part 2 of my fall 2020 houseplant tour. In part 1 I showed you all the plants in my bedroom. If you missed that one, I will link it up there for you so you can watch that now. But today we will be looking at all the plants in my living room. So let's go ahead and get started. We are starting in my kitchen as usual, and the first plant I have in here is this domino peace lily, and it's never too happy with me. It keeps browning at the edges and it's pretty dramatic, but I am keeping it alive, so that's good. I don't have too many plants in here because it is pretty low light. I do have some above the microwave though, which I will get a closer look for you. Alright, so up here I just have some ivy and then a little aglaonema. I got this one for like $3 at City Floral. And then I have a little lipstick plant. I don't know the variety of that one. It was labeled Rasta, but I don't think that's correct. Over here in this corner, I have a couple snake plants, and then I have a little homemade greenhouse. That was an old betta fish tank that I turned into a little terrarium. So these are a Sansevieria cylindrica. And then I don't know the type of this one. Jessie got this for me from Target. It was in the produce section and it was so sad, and we decided we had to rescue it. So it found its new home here. And then the plants I have in here are kind of a mix of things. I've got some Polynesian ivy or Paleonia pulchra, a couple pieces of jewel orchid, I have a little Fittonia in there, a couple different Hoyas, and my only heartleaf fern, the only fern in fact that I've ever been able to keep alive, right there. Over here is some pennywort, and then I did move my Peperomia prostrata or string of turtles into here because it wasn't doing too well, and it's kind of perking up a little bit now that it's in here. Over here, I have hanging a Scindapsus pictus jade satin. Some people call this one a jade satin pothos. And apparently it's pretty rare, so I am propagating it, but it's a really slow grower. And then down on this little table, I have my jewel orchid. It's one of the only orchids I'm able to keep alive because it's actually a terrestrial orchid. It lives in soil instead of bark, which is really cool. And then I have a Sansevieria, I think it's like trifasciata, something like that. And then I have my one and only Maranta. I put this baby in leca as soon as I got it because I know they really love water and they love high humidity, and hopefully I can keep it alive. We are looking at my coffee table now, and I like to switch up the plants that I keep on here. Right now I have a Peperomia cubensis. It's a really easygoing Peperomia. I haven't had any issues with it, and it propagates really easily. Next to that, I have some air plants. I've actually kept these alive for a couple years, surprisingly. I'm usually really bad with them. But this one is a Tectorum. It used to be a lot fluffier. And then I don't know what these two are, but I keep them in this little jar with a prairie dog skull. This is my candle that makes an appearance in every houseplant tour, but those are fake plants. On this bottom level here, I have a Scindapsus pictus silvery Ann. It's a lot like the Argyrius, but it has a lot more silver at the ends of the leaves. Very pretty. And then here is a Sansevieria starfish. And I did mention this in part 1. I know they are technically Dracaenas, but I'm still going to refer to them as Sansevierias or snake plants. This is a black pagoda lipstick plant. It does not normally live here. I did just move it for the video, but I purchased this one over the summer to propagate from, so I wouldn't have to chop up my own plant. Here is a Monstera adansonii. This is another one that I purchased solely to propagate, and it grows super quickly. Just a really cool plant. I've got a bigger one I'll show you in a bit. I have these floating shelves over here by my TV, and we will start on this bottom one. This first one here is a Dieffenbachia Camille. It is a type of dumb cane, and this one actually stays pretty small. Mine is kind of stretched out because it wants more sun, but it's just gonna have to settle with staying here. This one is a Mona Lisa lipstick plant. The blooms are really pretty, and it's a really easy plant as well. This one is a Pearls and Jade pothos. It's got a lot of really pretty speckling on the leaves. And this one is what's left of my goldfish plant. I am not very good with them, but I took a cutting of my last one, and this is it. I did chop it down recently to promote more growth. This next one is a Hoya carnosa splash. And then here is what's left of my Hoya kintiana. I showed you guys this one in my Hoya video, and I said it wasn't doing too well. I did trim off the dead leaves, and this is what I'm left with. Back here, I have a curly lipstick plant. Mine has some yellow leaves right now because it was in its nursery pot for too long, and I didn't realize the soil was staying too wet, but it did transfer it to terracotta, so hopefully it'll perk back up soon. And then here is what's left of my peace lily that I rescued from the apartment hallway a couple years ago. It was when I first moved into this apartment, actually. And this is all that's left of it, but these are all brand new leaves, and it's doing really well. Here I have just some little cuttings of my Cebu Blue pothos. And then we'll look on this top shelf now. This one is Peperomia obtusifolia. This one I think is the marble variety, and it's very clearly dying. I let it dry out a bit too much. I was trying to get rid of some gnats, and it did not like that, so it lost most of its leaves, but I think it will recover. Here is a little cutting of Hoya Chelsea and some leca. And then here is the Cebu Blue pothos I was able to create from all of my cuttings. And that one is actively growing, so I'm glad I was able to save that plant. Here are some more Hoya Chelsea cuttings. I did show you guys the mother plant in part 1 if you're interested. And then here is my Enjoy pothos. It's very similar to the Pearls and Jade, but it has less speckling, and then it has more white on the edges. Next to that, I have a Hoya Crinkle 8. And then this is some type of Syngonium. I don't know the variety. This one is my Neon Philodendron. Some people call this one a lemon lime. It is just a trailing heartleaf philodendron, and the leaves turn out super bright yellow if you give it a lot of light. This one is a orchid cactus, and I do not know the variety. I got really into jungle cacti for a while, so I just thought this one was really cool. And then you can kind of see hanging here, I have a couple more air plants in this little dome thing. And also hanging, I have a Hoya pubicalis. This one is a silver splash variety. And it's really cool because it's actually growing up the macrame and all the way onto the ceiling. Now we are looking at my little plant corner next to the TV, and this one here is a Scindapsus pictus exotica. This was my first exotica, and I've trimmed it a lot, but it does grow pretty quickly, and all of the new leaves are pretty big, almost the size of my hand now. Down here I have a philodendron Prince of Orange. The leaves start as this really pretty orangish red color, and then they fade to green. I tend to neglect this one, but it's really happy anyway. And then here is my Monstera deliciosa. I did chop it all down and repropagate every piece because I unfortunately left it outside and it got really bad sunburn. You can see a little bit of that here. But I had to cut off most of the plant and restart. But it's doing really good now. And there is a new leaf coming in down here. And then here I have a philodendron Xanadu. It was kind of leaning a bit, that's why I have it tied up here with this band. I'm trying to retrain it to come back this way. Here I have a little propagation box. I just have some sphagnum moss in there, and I have a ton of vanilla planifolia cuttings, and then a couple pieces of Scindapsus. I have a little Hoya crinkle 8 in here, and then some angel wing begonia. And then I have a little bowl of succulents. I actually don't know what kind these are. I'm not too keen on succulents. I did purchase these over the summer to leave on my balcony, and they're inside until next spring. And then I have my, it's pretty big now, I have this philodendron hope or philodendron cellulum. I know it is technically a thematophyllum, but I'm still going to call it a philodendron. Right now it's working on this little leaf down here. And this one is a white butterfly syngonium. I'll go ahead and show you these as well. This one is my burgundy ficus. And this one here is a Sansevieria zeylanica. I've had this one since I first moved in, and it did not grow for the first couple years, and it finally put out this whole new leaf. On this bookshelf here, I have a begonia breakdance. This one was outside over the summer and it got huge, so hopefully it likes being indoors now. And then I have another little homemade terrarium or greenhouse. I've got a ton of different little plants in there, a lot of peperomias. I have a couple begonias and some succulent propagations. If you guys want to know what any of those are, just let me know in the comments and I will let you know. And then next to that, I have a bunch of random succulents that are also inside for the winter time. On this shelf, I have a bunch of water propagations. Back there, I have the ficus burgundy cuttings. This one is a begonia rex, and it's one of the only begonias I've been able to keep alive. I got this one from Home Depot a while ago, and it's doing really well for me. This is a peperomia piccolo, and peperomias don't really like me, that's why it looks kind of sad. And another peperomia that looks pretty sad, a peperomia graveolens or ruby glow. The leaves on this one are really interesting. They kind of remind me of like gummy candy. This is a little jar with a wax begonia inside. I have a little glass of random propagations. There's some Hoya retusa and some Argyrius in here. A couple pieces of peperomia. And then this is my Phalaenopsis orchid. I actually treat this one like an air plant, so I will soak it once a week, and then I just keep it dry the rest of the time, and it's been doing really, really well for me that way. This whole root here is brand new, and so are these two middle leaves. On this shelf, I have my vanilla planifolia, and it's not looking too hot right now because I did have to repot it a couple days ago. I did discover snails in here, and they were eating the roots and eating a lot of the new growth, which was really devastating, but hopefully it'll bounce back. Next to that, I have a Hoya obovata. This one was made from cuttings of my larger plant. This one here is a silver dollar vine. The scientific name is kind of hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to try, but I will write it on the screen if you're interested. And this is my Hoya datura. I have it in this little pumpkin for fall. This one is my Hoya Mathilde. It's a really slow grower, but it does have an active growth point down there in the middle. And then I have a jade pothos. On this shelf, I have a Dischidia Jerry. This one is sometimes called Green Cascade. And here is my big Hoya obovata. I absolutely love this plant. I've had it for a couple years now, and I've made lots of little babies from it. It is still growing. There's a little leaf right there. I don't know if you can see it. It's coming in kind of burgundy. This one is a philodendron lemon lime. There is a spider that lives in this plant, so I try not to touch it too often and disturb it. And this one is a strawberries and cream syngonium. When I went on vacation, it dropped a ton of its leaves, and hopefully it'll recover, but it is still pretty unhappy with me. This one is Philodendron brantianum, or Philodendron brandy. It's really cool. It kind of reminds me of a Scindapsus argyrius with the silver on the leaves. And mine always puts out really wonky looking leaves at first. I think it might have some kind of nutrient deficiency, but I have had it for a couple years and it's still going. And this is some type of Tradescantia. I don't know the variety, but this was another one of my very first plants in this apartment. This is another Scindapsus pictus exotica. This one might be a silver splash because it does have a lot more silver than my other ones. It actually has a vine somewhere in here that is all silver, which is really, really cool. You guys might notice that I have a lot of these. It's just because I absolutely love them, and every time I see one, I can't help but bring it home. This one is a Philodendron micans. I had it in a larger pot and it wasn't really growing, so I did transfer it down. Here is just a little piece of Hoya obovata in leca. This is a jar of Hoya australis cuttings, and then Hoya Chelsea in leca. On this very top shelf, I have a piece of exotica propagating. And this one is a Hoya australis. This is my first Hoya australis. Here's my all green Hoya carrii. Jessie got me this one as a surprise one day, and it's probably my favorite plant in my whole collection. Here is some variegated wax ivy, or Senecio macroglossus. have another exotica right there. Here is a little propagation of my Scindapsus pictus jade satin. Moving on, we have a Hoya pubicalis. I don't know the variety. I got this one in a plant bundle from Etsy. And there is my original Monstera adansonii. See a couple yellow leaves in there. I can't really get a consistent watering schedule with this one, but it's super tolerant of whatever I do, luckily. Here is another little Cebu blue pothos, and then a philodendron Congo. Here I have a little trio of cacti. This one is the oldest cacti that I have. It kind of turned black over the summer because I had it outside. There is a fairy tale castle cactus. And then this one my friend gave me for my birthday a couple years ago. This one is a Rhipsalis pachytera. And then I have a little aloe vera. I have two different holiday cacti. This one is an Easter cactus, and then this one is a Thanksgiving cactus, and mine is about to bloom. This is a little Tupperware full of succulent propagations. Whoops. Back here I have a Lucky Bamboo. I know it's technically a Dracaena, and I keep that in water with some pebbles. And here is a Hoya Crinkle 8 cutting and some leca. This one is a Philodendron scandens, or a heartleaf philodendron. And then some Monstera adansonii cuttings. There's a little exotica cutting stuck in there as well. Here I have some more water propagation. This one is Hoya delica sparta. It's finally growing some roots down in there. This is a piece of Hoya multiflora. And then this is kind of a mix of things. I have some Hoya curtisii, Hoya retusa, and some Dischidia jerry. This one is my fernleaf cactus. I paid a lot of money for this one. It was one of my first jungle cacti, and I really had to have it. I think this one is also called a fishbone cactus. I have another Thanksgiving cactus. I thought this one was a Christmas cactus for a while, but I think it's actually a Thanksgiving cactus. It just has kind of rounder leaves than my other one. Here is a kalanchoe. I think it's called Silver Spoons. This one is Haworthia cooperi. I got this one from Home Depot, and it's doing really well for me. It's actually putting out a little baby right there. Here is my kalanchoe luciae, or a flapjack kalanchoe. And I recently learned that these are monocarpic, so it will put out a death bloom and die, but luckily it will produce offspring before it does that. I have some Hoyas in leca. This one is my Hoya polyneura, or fishtail or mermaid Hoya. I paid a lot of money for this one as well, and I'm so happy that it's doing so well for me. Here are some cuttings from my Hoya serpens. They're hanging out in leca too. And then here is my Hoya sunrise. This one is a rickrack cactus. It's another jungle cactus. And down here I have a tiger aloe. It's getting really tall. I've had this one for a few years now. It's always pretty happy though. This one is a Euphorbia trigona. Here is a Hoya australis that I got for free with an Etsy order. And then a little purple passion plant. This one I took as a cutting from my other plant. Here is my Hoya serpens mother plant, and I found this in a tiny plant shop one day a couple years ago, and I was so ecstatic to find it. It seems pretty hard to get your hands on. And then this one is Ceropegia woodii, but this one is string of spades instead of the normal string of hearts. Here is my larger purple passion plant. And then my Pilea peperomioides. I had this one in water last time I showed you. I finally moved it back to soil, and if you look down here in the middle, it is actively growing now. Disclaimer for the following plants. I had these outside over the summer, and they are not very happy about being inside now, but hopefully they will perk back up in the spring. So here I have my Kalanchoe Mother of Thousands. It has a ton of little babies in there. This one is a Zebra Haworthia. And then I have two little pots of lilies. I wanted to save them as bulbs, and they decided they still wanted to grow, so they're just kind of hanging out here. There's a little Kalanchoe baby that made it into this pot. This is a Mammillaria elegans, and it's one of my favorite cacti because it looks really fuzzy, but it's actually just very dangerous. Then here is my dragon fruit cactus, and I got this one at the cutest little plant shop downtown. It was all family run, and this old man who owned the shop gave me 2 plants for under $5. I have some more cacti on this shelf. So back there I have a Opuntia ficus indica variegata. So that's just a fancy way of saying a variegated prickly pear. And mine's not doing too hot. You can see up top it is kind of rotting or drying away. Again, it's not too happy about being inside, but hopefully it'll make it. I am supplementing these with a grow light. This one is my Opuntia Santa Rita, and this one will turn purple if you give it bright enough light. Here's another trio of cacti. I don't know the name of them. I have a spiral cactus and then a couple different barrel cacti or devil's tongue cacti. This one is an aloe vera. I don't know the name of this one. I overwatered it though, so it is trying to grow some roots after I chopped it down. This one I also don't know the name of, but it had a really cool pattern on it, so that's why I got this one. It kind of looks like a zebra. And this one might be the same type. I got this one from Target a couple years ago. It was dying on a dark shelf, so I had to bring it home. This one is my domino cactus, and it is putting out a little baby, I think, right there. It did bloom for me earlier this year, and now it's reaching for the sunlight. I don't know the name of this one, and please don't get offended, but a lot of people call this one a booby cactus. I really like it. Down here I have a few more dying succulents, sadly. This one is my oldest prickly pear cactus. I got that one from Walmart for a couple bucks a few years ago. This one is some type of Rhipsalis. I actually don't know the name of it. And that one is an Adramicious key lime pie. Here is a little blue cactus. I got this one because it was super fuzzy. And then I have 2 different Rhipsalis that I left out in the bright sun, and most of them died back. I think the green pieces might make it though, hopefully. This one is Kalanchoe Bordeaux. It is purple if you give it bright enough sunlight, and mine had mealy bugs when it was outside, so I did chop it down to avoid bringing them indoors. This one is related to a cactus, but not quite a cactus. I will put the name on screen if you're interested. Here is a Kalanchoe Blossfeldiana that my friend gave me for Valentine's Day. And a silver dollar jade that also got sunburnt pretty badly. This one is my string of bananas. It's kind of dark in this little cubby, but hopefully you can still see. This one is a Kalanchoe tomentosa, Kalanchoe bahardii, cotyledon mint truffles. That one's a bear paw succulent. It's just hanging on for dear life back there. Here is another Kalanchoe. It was sold to me as pink butterflies, but I don't believe that's what it is. It's another one I chopped down due to bugs. This is some type of opuntia. I did just get this little cutting and it's finally taking root. That one was outside of a local garden center that I shop at a lot, and don't worry, I did get permission. This one is a pickle plant or cucumber plant. I don't know the scientific name, but it is the other plant that I got from that tiny cactus shop I talked about. Here is a random pot of little succulent cuttings from some of mine over the summer, and surprisingly they are growing. Here is a little Haworthia or Gasteria, I'm not sure what type. This one is Kalanchoe malotii. It's kind of exfoliated right now, but that's okay. This one is Adramicious calico hearts. And then another little Kalanchoe Blossfeldiana. This one is a piece of Ashland's plant that she gave me. And now I just have some propagations over here in Leca. So these are all Hoya Chelsea, and I'm hoping they will be rooted enough by the spring to be planted. Have a little bit more Hoya Chelsea, and then I have a Hoya Carrii quilt leaf, Hoya numelarioides, and Hoya australis lisa. And then here I have some Hoya retusa that I am currently propagating as well. That is everything for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Let me know below which plant was your favorite and what you want to see from me next. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!